Do we talk?
Yeah, I was gonna say who talks first.
All right. We are newbies at the live streaming on the YouTube. Hey guys, thanks for stopping in here. We got some people in the chat. That's awesome. I don't know if they
Yeah.
can hear us yet.
There's like a full minute delay, so we won't know if they can hear us until we've already moved on to the next topic.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're here tonight to answer your, well, I guess I should wait. Should I wait? We're going to answer questions. We could just talk. So, I'm working on a Star Kingdom novel to go in between my epic fantasy, and it was supposed to be a fun, easy project, and it is not. It's complicated. I don't know how to write easy. I'm very envious of people that are just like, I can write easy. So if you guys, I want to watch the chat. Let us know if you guys, I see myself on there, so I think we're live.
We are live, yes.
All right, you guys talk a little bit.
I was gonna say we've got somebody was asking who did the logo. Love the colors, who designed it.
The logo was designed by Fable Siegel, who has done a lot of my covers, and actually the color scheme for it was a group effort. I think we actually changed from the original color scheme based on Andrea's input.
Yeah, I was like, we should use a different color.
It was
One of the
originally
colors.
gold was the primary color.
Yeah.
Golden brown, super sexy colors. So I guess we'll tell you guys, teaser for anybody who's here. Next week's show that we just recorded, will come out next Thursday, is on Kindle Unlimited and Amazon exclusivity versus being wide. And we kind of talked about the advantages, disadvantages, our own experiences. And we're going to end up doing a part two because this will shock you guys. We went a little bit long and we had this coming up, so we had to cut it a little short. But if you guys have any questions on that topic, or any other topics, we are here. Otherwise, we'll just ramble. We don't have anything planned besides
Well,
here.
somebody was like, they must give us a real-time update with what they are currently working on. So I'm like, we could do that even though we just record it for next week's episode. But real time.
I do see a question from Tom, who asked when my book one for my epic fantasy series is coming out. And I actually just, my editor sent it to me and I was just going over the edits today stressfully because it was long and she had a lot to say. I have a lot of kingdoms. It got a little confusing with like all the colors of the different people having different colored military uniforms. So I'm probably going to hold it though until I have book two close to written before releasing book one. Because I do want to try to get the audiobook recorded at the same time. And I need the complete finished Type 100 manuscript to send to my narrator. So probably it's going to end up being close to May. I'm actually going to have a Star Kingdom book out first because I took a break to write that. That was our only question. Southern Florida. Oh, thanks for telling us where you guys are. Look at you guys in Florida and Canada. Those are slightly different.
Somebody's asking what time zone Andrea is in. I'm in, where am I? I'm in China. Just kidding. No, I'm in between Joe and Lindsay. So that makes things fun. I'm in Mountain Standard.
Mountain. It was best when I was in Arizona because the half the year I was Mountain and half the year I was Pacific. So it added an extra layer of confusion. Joe, do you want to talk about what you're working on?
Sure.
Or anything?
I am also working on a new epic fantasy. I ended up, we mentioned it in the beginning of one of the recent episodes, that it ended up being 60,000 words as opposed to the targeted 100 and some odd thousand. So I just finished re-outlining it so that I have a very strong B plot, and I'll add that in, and hopefully that will take me up to 100,000, which will be sufficient for me. But if not, I'll just be happy with it being whatever it is, because I don't want to put anything into this that doesn't feel like it belongs there. And I already had a B plot. This is just beefing it up. But yeah, so the next release will either be that or the I guess you would call it a lit RPG thing that was Ready Player One inspired. There's some question marks about that because it contains a lot of copyrighted other people's stuff. So I'll have to figure out how to make it more lawyer friendly before I release that. So its release is question mark.
Yeah, and then for me, my goal is to finish the current book by the time we go to Hawaii. I don't know if it's going to actually happen, but that's in I've got 6 days. So we'll see. I'm halfway through writing it. So I don't know, there's a possibility.
All right. Well, I will read the question from Tiffany. Do any of you have your own publishing house just for your own books? If so, are there benefits to publishing through your own house? You guys can go first.
And I do not. I have my LLC, which we're switching to an S corp this year, but that's not an actual publishing house.
I don't have my own publishing house either. There are some benefits to doing a publishing house. Like if you can pick up other authors and you're particularly good at promoting and marketing, then that's certainly a good reason to have a promotional to a publishing house, because you can have increase the number of releases to be a little bit more constant, and then you make a little bit of money off of the people who you become a publisher. You make some money off of the people who you are publishing. But I don't feel as though I have got enough on the ball to be promoting other people's stuff as well as my own. So I don't think this is for me.
Yeah, I've not done it. I've also not had any interest in publishing other people. And as far as doing it for yourself, some people decide to do that. I am actually kind of proud. I'm like, or prideful, maybe more hubris than pride, but I stubbornly put nothing in that field on Amazon. Like I know a lot of people who like make their LLC, whatever they name it. And I have that for tax purposes, but I don't put it on the field on Amazon. I'm just like, nope, I'm independent. That's just how it is. And I don't know, you could argue in some cases that it can be, I don't want to say disingenuous, because I know a lot of people do it. I don't want to like insult anyone, but it seems like you're trying to it could be perceived as the reader. How is that for political? Perceived by the reader that you're trying to come across as a big publishing house when you are actually but you are independently published. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I always feel weird. I don't want to tell anybody they can't do anything. You can do whatever you feel is right, but that's why I don't do it.
I know a lot of people in the beginning, they used to think it was necessary just to be, to keep them hidden from authors as being independent. But nowadays it doesn't really matter. People don't care anymore.
I think I can understand why it could feel disingenuous if you are presenting yourself as a big publishing house, but I think you can just sort of you can shortcut that or short circuit it by just letting people know. Like you can make it a part of your big advertising thing that we're a small independent publishing house. So yeah, I think as long as you handle it correctly, it can be okay.
And Charles says, I think I might have cut this off, but should you publish once and throw advertising dollars at book one, or release your books once a month? Shoot, sorry, Charles, I think I only missed the top half of that, but I actually think we answered this in today's episode. That came out today. I mean, it sounds familiar. We talked a little bit about this, why, like, especially if you're wide, why you might want to, the question is like, if I have 5 books ready, the whole series written, let's say, should I publish them all at once on all the stores, or should you stagger them as is more typical and release one a month or one every 2 months? And I actually publish when I take a new series wide, I put it all out at once, and it's because I'm lazy. Fully said that in the episode. I'll say it again. It's just too much work to be like trying to stagger releases and publishing something wide at the same time as I'm publishing a new series or very exclusive to Amazon. I actually think it's better to stagger it because every time a new book comes out, it's kind of a new opportunity to get that any new release juice you're going to get, new readers that, you can't assume that all the time all the readers are on the store, right? People are coming in at different times as they finish their other books looking for new things. So the more releases you have in a series, the more chances it is for people to spot the new release in the list and maybe go back and check out book one and get into your series. If you guys have thoughts on that.
I agree with the, staggered releases. That's really helpful. I think I've said before that it also depends on what situation you are in. If you've got a whole bunch of books ready, just decide if you want to stagger them. If you want to do a rapid release them really slowly, or release them all at once. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that generally I like staggered releases. Just and again, we do talk about it in a recent episode that I tend to assume I'm going to screw at least one thing up. So the more releases, the more chances I have to course correct over the course of a series.
All right. Andrea was hopefully asking, she put in the chat the first part of your questions, Charles, and I totally didn't see that till after I had already said, where's the first half of the question? I don't know. Sorry about that. So John asked, do you guys feel as though it's absolutely necessary for a pen name if you wish to write in multiple genres? What if the genres are quite varied, say mystery suspense, then romance, and then fantasy?
Do we want to answer in the same order every time? I was just going to type that in the chat, and then I was like, wait, I can actually say it.
Well, I'll let you guys go first if I ask the question, and
Okay.
then you can like arm wrestle for it.
Physical arm wrestle. All right, Joe
Yeah,
gets to
yeah.
go first.
Okay. No, I don't think you absolutely have to have a pen name when you're writing in different genres if they're relatively similar. Obviously, if you are writing a children's book and erotica, you're going to want to have a pen name for one of those because you don't want to have overlap in those audiences. But I write in three different genres. I write in sci-fi, fantasy, and steampunk, although steampunk is arguably one of the other two. And I do fine. That said, there is definitely benefits for doing so, but you don't absolutely have to. And if you feel as though you're not going to be able to handle two uh, pen names, because it's essentially doubles the number of promotional hurdles you have to leap, then I would say the benefits can be far outweighed by the liabilities.
Yeah, and I think we had somebody on the show who was like, you can do the same pen name. All you have to do is make sure each book is very solidly branded. So, like, make sure it's got a very solid to market or to genre cover description, etc. Personally, from my own experience, writing romance, fantasy, and nonfiction under the name Andrea Pearson did cause problems for me, and which is why I started the different pen names that I've started. But honestly, I think it's just going to depend on how much time you have to put into things. Maybe you have not as much time now. You can release it under all the same name and then separate it later, or you could separate it now and then combine it later.
That might be my advice because I think it kind of depends on how serious are you about like giving a crap about what the Amazon algorithms are doing. Are you really, really into this right now? Are you going to spend money on advertising? Do you care if you get your also bots messed up? Because that happens. That's a thing. If you write a mystery and then you kind of built up with a mystery series, a fan base, and then you release a steampunk, and Amazon's going to send it out to your regular mystery readers, and they're going to go, oh, no, not interested. And they're not going to buy it. And then you're probably not going to get any kind of loving from Amazon, less organic reach. Whereas if you start a new pen name for that, you're starting fresh. Amazon doesn't have any past history. You don't have any followers that they're going to alert about your new book. And you're not, and then with your newsletter too, you don't want to you can cause you might have people who will read your steampunk who bought your mystery because they like you so much and they want to read everything you publish, which is awesome, but that will also kind of cause problems in that then you end up in the also bots for a bunch of mystery authors with your steampunk book. And again, that kind of, or being out there like that's not going to help you out because they're going to be like, what is that book doing? I don't even know. But I will say from personal experience, it's really hard to keep multiple names going. So like what Andrea said with maybe you want to start with a pen name so you can have it all fresh. There's no, and I don't know how much of this happens on the other stores if it's as bad as on Amazon. But if you don't want that past history to cloud possibly how the new genre under your name will do, maybe you could start with a pen name. And then later, if you decide like you're done with that, but you want your new readers to be able to find that, maybe you add both names to the cover and you just or you just combine it at the point it becomes backlist and it's not selling as well anyway. You could just at that point change the name on the cover, put it under your other name. I see you eating, Andrea. You were totally in the dinner zone. All right, Edward.
Muted on my end though, so nobody can hear me chewing.
That's fine. We appreciate that. You're very polite. Edward asks, how many audiobooks do you need on YouTube to move the dial and make it even somewhat profitable? What would you do for a trilogy? Release the first one on YouTube or the first two books? And yeah, so for those that didn't hear, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I'd put a couple of my series on YouTube, the audiobooks, and they did pretty well. Honestly, the short ones, I started with like my free novella and a free 30-minute short story. Those got a little bit of loving, but it wasn't until I started putting the full-length novels up there that they got a little more, everything was pretty much organic. Like I'd kind of say to my Facebook group, hey, look, I got Sinister Magics up here on YouTube. And, like 100 people would check it out, which was great. But it has gotten a lot of organic discovery on Facebook. I'm going to pass it to Joe in a minute because he's put one up too. But I would say for a trilogy, if you want to maximize sales, just put up the first one, and hopefully it kind of, I don't know if you've got a cliffhanger, if it's a complete story, but the more it makes them want to read, the better. Now, if you are trying to maximize making ad revenue on YouTube, obviously you need to get to the point where you have 1,000 subscribers and 40,000 watch hours before you can even apply to AdSense. And then, if you find out you're actually making money, you might want to have your whole trilogy up there and just there it is. And then even the next series, maybe you only put one book up. And by that point, you've gathered a fan base on, hopefully on YouTube, some people that have subscribed. And then you might try do just the first book and kind of lure them. Whatever you do, make sure you put all the links. YouTube is absolutely fine about, I'm like, here's a link to Google Play. Here's a link to Kobo. Here's a link to everything. They don't care, down in the description, and you can pin a comment too with that stuff. So, and one thing is to realize you don't have to put it up there forever. Like maybe you throw your whole trilogy up there, make some money, and then when you stop getting as much organic discovery, you take the second two down and just leave one up there to lead into sales. And Joe, I know you've got Jade up there if you want to talk about that too.
Yep. I just put up Jade about a month ago now, and it's a 5 hour. I guess you'd technically call it a novella. Like in writing, it would be a novella, but it's a 5 hour audiobook, and it is going to get I think it's 4,000 hours that you need. It's going to get them by itself over the course. I would be surprised if it takes another month to get 4,000 hours just on it. 1,000 subscribers, I'm not going to have. But yeah, and then you know, if it's a sort of thing that wasn't making you any money anyway, unless you're trying to make this your career of just having YouTube audiobooks, I think that you probably don't focus too much on that. You're going to be getting, some amount of money. I guess it will be technically cannibalizing your audiobook sales, but I've got to believe there's a fairly different audience for audiobooks on YouTube than there are on audiobook stores. And again, you put your link there. It's not the most convenient way to listen to an audiobook on YouTube, so if somebody likes it and they want to keep it, they could still buy it. I haven't been tracking how well the link has been, converting, but yeah. So you can be profitable with one apparently, because eventually I will be.
Yeah, and I was going to say if they want to own it, they can, buy it from Audible or wherever.
Right. That's sort of the perk of they don't have to listen to the ads if they actually buy a copy, or if they're a YouTube premium subscriber, they're not listening to the ads anyway, but you're getting your little cut. So it's probably fair. Like there was just an article posted on Alliance of Independent Authors a week or two ago. That's kind of figuring out how much is ACX actually paying you for audiobooks. And it's like horrible. I think we talked about that in the news for the show. The last one is like, I honestly make as much from ebooks as I do from the audiobooks that are supposedly like $27, right? For a $4.99 ebook, I put the same $3 and change in my pocket. All right, next question is from Daniel. You guys can go first. What's your opinion on book tours?
I don't have a terribly high opinion of book tours. They're not bad, but they're a lot of work, and like especially if you're the one setting them up, and you're probably the one setting them up. They can be fun if you enjoy that sort of thing. If you don't enjoy that sort of thing, then I wouldn't recommend a book tour. It will it's a very high effort for very low reward in my observation.
Now I'm going to ask the questions, probably physical book tours, right? Like going from city to city or whatever, not just blog tours. Book tours don't really happen a whole lot anymore. I mean, nobody goes to the bookstore right now. And I'm kind of blaming it on COVID. But I don't know. I think a book tour would be a lot of fun, but also, like Joe says, it takes a lot of time out of your writing schedule, and you have to worry about where you're going to stay and if you're going to have enough books at the location, or are you going to cart the books around with you, and then that limits what else you can take with you, and if you need to take other people with you, things like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Right. If you're traditionally published and the publisher is going to pay for it, maybe it's a fun thing to do. But as far as doing it on your own, I think you'd get more out of going to a convention, like for sci-fi and fantasy comic cons, huge amount of traffic just buying a booth and kind of being there. We've had people on the old show that they were making really good money just going to like kind of the conventions, the big comic cons and things that were local enough for them to drive to with big boxes of books in the back. And as far as blog tours, because I wasn't sure if which one you meant, they used to be some outfits that organize them. I don't pay attention anymore. I didn't really get anything out of them, and I did them early. So, like, if I had gotten a sales boost, I would have known because I wasn't selling very many books. So I've been like, oh, what I would probably do instead of that is if that's something you want to look into is like if there's a couple of blogs in your genre that actually get a lot of traffic, because what I found with the booking the blog tours thing is that half the time my site got more traffic than these blogs and my site didn't get a lot of traffic then, but you could pick a couple and pitch them, try to get on, maybe, never know. I had that early on. I had the fantasy book critic review one of my books. I don't think I pitched it to them. I just got lucky. And that just occasionally you get lucky now and then. And that was something early on that actually moved the dial. Like I remember selling a bunch of copies of my little 2.99 encrypted at Smashwords. Fortunately, the review was pretty favorable. So it can help to get talked about on a pretty big site. Ooh, Raphael, I guess that's how you say that. Do you make a reader magnet for each new series you write? You guys can go.
I eventually do. Eventually, I make a reader magnet for everything that I write. Like even if it's not a series, even if I'm just writing a new book, because I have the Patreon, I tend to be writing short stories there. So if it's the first one and I feel like it's a good intro or a good enticement, it usually will become a reader magnet in some way, shape, or form. But generally speaking, I only have reader magnets for my main series until that short one comes along. So it tends to be a follow up for me.
And what I do is I've got a box set that is full of reader magnets, and I have a reader magnet or a story involved with every single main series that does well in that box set. So that's kind of like it's appealing to readers because it's a full box set, and then I don't have to repeat that information. And on the book cover, it says the titles of the first like three books that are in there, and then it says and more, so I can add whatever I want to, and I don't have to change the books themselves, just that box set.
I have done it for quite a few series now. I would say not every one. Sometimes it just doesn't come to me, like there's not a prequel novella with the characters that would make a whole lot of sense, or and other times it's super obvious, like this guy is super mysterious and he's not a POV people character, but people are really going to want to get a story from his point of view. And but and I've had good luck doing that too. Like a non-POV character is just always kind of intriguing. Somebody that they want either a story, or I've done it where I've written some of the scenes from the first few novels from that character's POV, and that was the bonus. So I get way more newsletter signups when I do those. But once you've got a lot of series, it can be kind of like, oh, I got to do another one. And like I said, sometimes it's just you're not really able to think of something that would make an awesome bonus, or so I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do one for my epic fantasy. I'm kind of like waiting to see if I get inspired as I write more. There are a couple characters it could work with, but like I said, huge difference in newsletter signups versus just saying like, come sign up if you want to know when the next book is out, or come sign up for this thing that's already free on Amazon or that you can get on Amazon. The exclusive newsletter bonus like that has worked really well for me. So, and then I just keep them. Like if you sign up for my sci-fi newsletter now, you get like 7 bonuses. And I think that can actually help sell some of your other series too. Like if they came in for my bonus for Star Kingdom, but they're like, oh, what's this Fallen Empire? I got the free bonus, so I'll read that. And oh, Junkyard Novella, I'll read that. So I think that's one of the things that helps keep the backlist selling too, is just like automatically they're like being exposed to your other series. Next question is from SWP. I would like to know if Joe can speak Italian. I'm studying Italian. Serious question. Are translations profitable for you? Have they been worth your time if you've done them?
I cannot speak Italian. Not much. I can say things that sound like Italian sometimes because I'm repeating what my grandfather used to say to me. But I'm pretty sure Santa Pantalones is not an actual phrase that people use. That's just what he would say when he was surprised. But yes, I have got translations in Bulgarian, which was not very worth it, and German, which has been very worth it. I've made a fair amount off of the German translations. I also have an Italian and a French translation. I think the Italian one is available. I don't think the French one is. I think the translation place was not happy with how that translation came out. The German was it worked very well. For the others, not so much. And to be fair, this is a case where someone approached me and basically the same as you would get from any publishing contract. They paid me in advance and pay me royalties for this stuff, so it cost me nothing. So I had no outlay. Any money made was worth it. Um, so yeah, absolutely. I have found translations to be worthwhile. Also, by the way, I saw somebody ask about the stuff in the thing here. This little burgundy fella is Min the Dragon. One of them, and so these are also Min the Dragon. Anything that's a red dragon is Min. So
That's kind of cute. And I love the Santa Pantalones. That's amazing. Holy pants. um, I wouldn't say people actually say that in Italy. Just at least not the Italian I learned. And I haven't done any translations. So, Lindsay, off to you.
So I only had one translation that was like a reader wanted to do it because she was a translator, and then she pitched it to a publisher, and I don't think I made any money. I think they published, I might have got like $500 or something. But I actually have two that are in the works right now. So I guess ask me this question in another year. Although I think you're maybe asking, is it worth paying to have translations done? Like Mark Dawson has had his books done in German. I'm really more into selling the rights. I have a French publisher doing Death Before Dragons now and a German publisher doing my Dragon Blood series. Obviously, publishers love dragons, right? So I'll find out how much I actually make from that stuff. I know the German publisher is going to launch into KU, and as I know, Joe's was done that way, and he made good money. So I'm kind of excited that they're kind of all on board with checking out the modern the modern. Not like to say KU is the only modern thing, but that they were on board with trying that. But no, it's expensive enough that I haven't even wanted to get involved with doing it, handling it myself. Quick question. I think this is going to be because I don't think any of us have done this. Blessed or messy? Do any of you have books on BookTok, better known as TikTok? Fantasy books are trending, including YA. Call me Frankie.
I don't have anything on TikTok. I understand that it's a good place to be if you can pull it off, but I don't think that I've got what it takes to be charismatic on that service.
I only know what TikTok is because I have nieces, so I don't.
I checked it out and it was two guys in the second story window ping-ponging back and forth to themselves outside the window. That's been my experience with like seeing something on TikTok. I know people have like become celebrities there and made it. So yeah, if it's something that appeals to you, sure, why not try it? If I ever hear of anybody that's really having good success selling books that way, we'd be happy to like try to get them on the show to talk about it and give you guys some tips. Amanda asks, for me, how was it being a part of Kindle Worlds and sharing your universe with other authors? For the group, would you consider having others write stories with your input to expand the brand? So my experience with Kindle Worlds, which has since disappeared, was that it was a little bit of money. I think I got $2,000 and then I don't remember a percentage of sales from what other people wrote and a lot of work. Like I thought it would be like me, here's my story Bible, I'm done. But it was like, oh no, you should actually like talk to the authors and be available and answer questions. And so for a very small amount of money, it just, and not that it was constant hours of work or anything like that, but it was just, I felt like I had to reach out and try to help people. So, and I'm not a very collaboration kind of person. You guys know I like to be in my little writing cave. My perfect days are like, I don't open my email. Nobody calls me. I don't have any appointments. Nobody texts me. It's like the introvert dream. So, I would, if I did it again, not through Amazon or anything, that might be a little different. It was just kind of a weird setup. And I don't know, Joe, you were on the other end of that because you wrote a story for it. How was the experience for you?
I mean, well, I enjoyed writing. Like, I enjoyed collaborating on a thing. I think that was the first time I'd ever written something in a genre, in a setting that I did not create. Um, It was weird. Like Kindle, I mean, it's moot, but Kindle Worlds was run in a weird way because you first off, you split royalties, but also it was exclusive to Amazon, but wasn't in KU initially, which is just the worst of both worlds. Like that was a strange way to do it. But as if it were to come to collaborating again, I'd absolutely do it. I briefly thought about trying to open up my before I released it and saw how it did. My urban fantasy, I thought about doing a story Bible for it and pulling in a couple of other writers I know who were looking for ghostwriting work. I thought about trying to open it up and see if we could just increase the velocity of the releases for the series in that way. So collaboration and a shared world is very interesting to me, but I did not like the way Kindle Worlds did it.
And for
Go
me,
ahead.
wait, what, Lindsay?
Sorry, I was just going to say, and Andrea, did you have any
Oh.
opinions?
um, I've gone back and forth on this over the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years. I did have a couple of authors ask to write in my Mosaic Chronicles world. And I don't know how I would feel because I'm kind of a control freak. Like I would want to make sure, like what Lindsay was saying, that these books fit my style, what I'm trying to show with these people, the world. And from my experience, the ones that approached me, like their vision was just different enough where my readers would not have liked their stories, and their stories, their readers would not have liked mine. And so I'm like, it's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of reading time right now. So I'm like right now, as of now, it would be a no. But I think it would be fun to have, like have people do that. It would be fun. I think the idea would be is good, but I would absolutely love to have the universe itself expanded, but the amount of work that would need to go into it is a showstopper right now for me.
I do enjoy when people write fan fiction. Like, I think that's really cool. I don't usually read it, but I love that it exists. So if you could get your fans to write stuff, like the mega fans, that'd kind of be the ideal situation. I think I got more people that were like listening to the podcast and were authors. So they're like, I'll give this a try. Very few people actually took the characters from the stories and used them. And I was like, I don't really know how to sell this because like my world building isn't anything special. It's the characters that readers are into. So if you write your own characters in my world, I'm like, ah. I mean, I don't know because that's what Joe did. So I don't know how that successful that was for you, Joe.
I know that when I wrote in your world, people expected me to write your characters, and I didn't. I wrote in your setting, but created original characters. And I liked writing in the other setting, but I definitely feel like, generally speaking, when people read within a setting, they're looking for more of the same characters. I probably would have had the book went reasonably well, and eventually reverted back to me, and I was able to release it separately. And there's even an audiobook of it. But yeah, I definitely think if I had treated it more like fan fiction, I think it probably would have gone over better, and maybe would have even been a little bit more fun because writing something, writing new characters in someone else's setting, it feels weird creating basically new canon for somebody else's setting.
Okay, definitely. And next question from Edward. How do you break into English markets that are not the US, Canada, or UK?
I would say I actually had a fair amount of success before I had a translation in German. Early on, when the Book of Deacon stories were doing very well in the U.S., they were doing very well in English in Germany. So they're going to get dragged up in general just from good sales elsewhere. But also, you can target ads to other locations with Facebook and probably most pay-per-click ad type stuff. You can target them. Whether or not it's worth doing is a question mark because I mean there are some enormous English-speaking populations in non-English countries, but you'd have to get a big proportion of them for the cost of the advertising to be covered. America tends to be just the big three English-speaking places tend to be the best places to spend your advertising dollar.
And I have not had huge market breakout, whatever success in the other markets. And then what I have had I can say I don't know, the way you would do it is run promotions. And when you promote, don't just link tags or just don't, sorry. We've already talked once tonight. I'm really struggling with a second talking. But don't don't just link to American and England. You link to everywhere, and so a lot of the thing is you're going to want all of your readers, regardless of where they live, to feel like you care about them, which you should as an author. And that's one reason why using books to read links is really good. And then just, I don't know, like I said, run promotions, like Joe said, Facebook ads, that kind of stuff works really well. But a lot of the times it just takes something like what it takes here, um, the right sequence of events to fall into place. And so if you just keep going and you keep pushing those books and keep working at it, eventually you will have more success in other markets.
Right. I don't do well in India. That's one that's been tough. And I think that's a lot of it is the price. Like books are really inexpensive there, and the lowest we can make it on Amazon anyway is 49, is it rupees? But apparently that's like pretty expensive still for a book over there. Australia, I've done pretty well. UK is my big number two. That one sells a lot, but that's one you mentioned. I think being wide is kind of the best way to be in all the stores, because a lot of the other countries that are English speaking, but Amazon's not a big presence in. You can get them wide. There's a lot of like on Google Play, I get a lot of international stuff. I think Android is in a lot of places. Smashwords, that tends to be the international. The people that I don't know what is going on right now, but the people that don't want to pay. There used to be like big taxes. Like if you're in South Africa trying to buy a book in the US, it'd be like way more than just the cost of the book. But yeah, I also the free book one. I know I say that all the time, guys, but it works really well. Roland Denzel. I'm in the wrong place. I thought this was two-figure authors. But no, the free book one is just kind of this thing that costs you nothing other than potentially lost sales. But if you've got a series, it leads into other things. And people just, a lot of times people aren't targeting those other markets as much. And so people may be going and looking for books. They're not getting as many Amazon ads in the stores, that those don't exist yet. So and then just having it there for a long time, going in and out of Kindle Unlimited wide, that can kind of mess things up as far as getting that longevity and being somebody that people buy in the other stores. Amanda asked, I got to start talking less because there's a lot of questions now. You guys are awesome. Okay, Amanda, are multi-author box sets worth it if you don't have a big name author involved?
They used to be way worth it. Like multi-author box sets were fantastic a while ago. They're not as good now, but they're still worth it. The ones that I'm a part of, I mean, it's all relative whether or not you get a big name in it. But there are people out there just looking for the best deal, and if they can get their hands on, a 99-cent book that has 20 full novels in it, then they're going to. And there's one or two multi-author box sets that I'm in that I would say we didn't like rope in a New York Times bestseller to be in it, but I still get emails from people who say that they discovered me from that book. I think my first sci-fi is in it. So yeah, I think they're still worth it. They're worth it a lot more if you're not the one putting them together. If someone just asks you to be in it, then it's an easy yes.
And I would say, I would agree. I think they're worth it if there's no big author in them. Um, because if you're with authors on your same level, you're still going to be sharing readers with each other. You're still going to be sharing work with each other. I would advise you work with authors that you at least have a somewhat of a relationship with on Facebook or whatever with, because the chance of freeloaders coming are pretty high, especially if you have a large box set. So you don't want to have like 20 authors and have 10 of them doing the work and 10 not doing anything. And if you know the authors who are involved, you're going to have a higher chance of people pulling their weight. And if you're just starting out, these kinds of things are really fantastic for newer authors or authors who don't have a huge following yet. The amount of work that would go into it is worth it in that case. Don't forget, writing obviously more books is going to be more worth it. But I found when I was in box sets, the amount of work I put into them did not take away from the amount of writing I needed to do.
Yeah, I think if you can get quite a few people that have a decent sized mailing list, like maybe a few hundred people or 1,000 people, that can be pretty powerful. It's already a great deal for readers. They're getting 8 books for 99 cents or something, or maybe you're even doing a bunch of perma-frees that you're putting out there. I think the hard part is when a lot of the books in the set are not very good, and you kind of see that, and the reviews get tanked because it ends up with a low review average, and that's hard. because most of the time we don't read each other's books. We just say, yeah, I'll go put it in the box set, So if your book's 7 and there were not 6 great books in front of you, they may never get to yours. But I would say just overall, I've found the box sets to be worth it and relatively little work. It doesn't really take that much time to get a cover, throw all the books together, format it, and then everybody emails their list. And you can get quite a bit of exposure that way. Next question from Rick. At what point should you trust your author income to support you? I am already full-time, but my wife and I are debating her retiring early and making my income from writing the main one.
I would imagine this is a pretty situational question. If you have a family that you're going to be supporting, then you need to be a lot more conservative with this stuff. I made the decision. It was two things that made the decision. Number one, when I started making more money from the books than I was from my day job, that was a pretty clear indicator that I should probably focus on the writing. Also, when the day job basically shifted in a way that would have prevented me from continuing writing, made it pretty easy to make the decision. But I made the decision to do it once I had, I was very conservative. Once I had 1 full year of my expenses banked, then I chose to go full-time writer. I think that if you can probably get away with like however long you think it will take you to get a new job. If you have that much in monthly expenses saved up, then it's at the very least, feasible. So yeah, I would say bank enough expenses to be able to last long enough to get a new job if it doesn't work out.
And for me, when when I was making big money, a few years ago, um, we considered having Nolan quit his job and having us work or live off of just his income, but we decided not to, and I'm really glad because we weren't done having kids. We only had 2 kids at that point, and the decision whether to have him quit, and we were like, well, we're making enough money, but can we continue this for several years? And we couldn't. We didn't think we could. And so with you being the one writing and you're already retired, I think that takes a lot of the risk out of the situation. If you're not having kids anymore, that takes a lot of the risk out of the situation. And yeah, like Joe was saying, having a family, and I love what Joe did, having a whole year of expenses saved up. That is really great. I tend to be very risk averse, and especially when it comes to money and my family. And so we could have had Nolan quit, and I could have just been writing, but we decided not to. And right now, I'm really glad we did not. That's not super uplifting if you want to be working from home and not doing your job anymore.
So I think we talked a little bit on the Joe Solari episode about how you want to kind of base things not on like having to have a new release every month and have that high that you get from a new release. But when you get to the point where your months that are between the new releases are making more than you need, so that's probably kind of what you want to look at. You don't want to be stressed out by like, oh, I got to release every month or every 2 months, or the income's going to drop too much. You kind of want the baseline to be in a really good place that you're comfortable in. And of course, wherever you're comfortable is how many living expenses have put away. Maybe, you're trying to get your retirement fully funded and everything. I don't know if you guys are older, maybe you're doing fire, but the retire early thing. But so, yeah, I would just have it so that the lowest your income is, if you look back in the last year, kind of the low points, as long as that would still be enough. And, too, if the other person can easily go back and get a job if they need to, it kind of depends on your skills and, what you're doing. Like, I know my mom was a nurse for her whole life, and it was always really easy for her to get a job every time we moved because it's like nurses were super in demand. So, okay, next question is from Tiffany. I'm a new podcast listener, so you may have already talked about this, but how many books were in your backlog before you were able to go full time as a writer?
I think that I had the full book of Deacon trilogy. I know I did the full book of Deacon trilogy out, which then eventually became more books. But I think I had the first 2 books of the other 2 series out as well. So I had basically 7, probably 8 books that were earning it's to some degree in my backlist, and the book of Deacon stories were actually staying pretty high on the charts at the time that I quit. So I had 3 big earners, and then another 4 or 5 lesser ones.
And let's see. So Since I never did go full time as a writer, but when the income, the royalties were full time level was probably when I had 4 or 5 books out in my Mosaic Chronicles. So by that point, I had 6 in the Clenia series and 4 in Mosaic Chronicles, and then I had a whole bunch of side novellas and short stories that led people to my series. And so, yeah, about then. But that's the end.
So for me, I was kind of making the money where I was comfortable enough to go full time. Towards the end of my first series, Emperor's Edge, I had also done a little steampunk set of novellas, and I had another standalone novel. So I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 novels at that point. But I was kind of in the situation where I had been self-employed for a long time, and I ran all these websites I wrote content for. So I still had some income coming in from Google AdSense on those sites, even though I'd kind of abandoned them for the passion of writing at that point. So it wasn't as hard of a, like, I didn't have to go in and quit and suddenly have no money coming in. It was more that that stuff petered out because I wasn't working on it anymore over time. So I usually recommend wait until you at least have a second series, because I have seen it with a lot of authors that for whatever reason their first series takes off and they do really well, and then they launch a second series and their readers don't come over with them, and then they're kind of like, uh-oh, because you can only keep the first series selling so long once things peter off, or once you switch your focus to something new and the old one is kind of dropped off. So I usually don't recommend doing it on the first series. Daniel asks, when you reach the end of a series, say a long epic fantasy series, is it better to run ads to book one or the series page, or is it better to release a box set and take advantage of release momentum? All of the above. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say yes. I think that in the long run, promoting your book one and filtering through is probably going to be your main strategy. But doing a periodic promo to your series page is a good way to sort of have a fresh thing to like. Once your ads start to lose steam, if you switch over to doing the series page instead of book one, that'll work. And then I always like I tend to do the box set. I tend to do the box set as a just a one-time new release to sort of make people aware of the series. But I know that it's very popular to use a box set as a very potent, promotional tool because it's got the higher price and you can therefore discount it deeper.
And I would agree with both of them. Remember that whatever you're promoting needs to have good reviews on it. So if your book one has a lot of reviews, then promote that. If your series page has a lot of reviews, then promote that. If your box set has a lot of reviews, promote that. And you can control how many reviews you get by how many people you have in your newsletter. And you can control that by how often you promote and seek for newsletter subscribers. And also recognize that I don't, like my Mosaic Chronicles has 10 books and I've got 3 box sets, and I've got the box sets set up in their own series. And so books 1, book 2, book 3 are 3 sets of box sets. And that's worked really, really well for me. And it's given me it's like a new series to promote. And so I promote Discern, the first book, and then I promote the first box set. And then I don't actually promote my series page, but I would like to eventually. I'm still working. I need more reviews on that first.
Yeah, I haven't had any experience yet with promoting the series page, at least with Amazon ads. I think that's a thing now, right? Yeah. So I'm almost a year since the last major launch of a new series. So I haven't played with Amazon ads very much of late. I've just kind of let the things that are working run. And sometimes I go in and adjust the bids and how much I'm willing to spend per day. But so I haven't gotten a chance to experiment with that yet. So I will be looking at that probably with the next series I release. I do mention my series page often and now in newsletters. And that's always amazing to see how much of a bump you get of like people like, oh, I got to catch up on this series, because I think with newsletters, some people get every one, some people might get like every third one, others go into the promos folder or something. Some people are like, I wish I still got your newsletters. So don't feel bad about like plugging the same things over and over again. It can just be a PS at the bottom. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're missing any books, check the series page. I like to do the box set after the series is finished. I'm actually probably going to do this pretty soon now for my Death Before Dragons series, because I released the last book a couple weeks ago. So, and I do have a cover and everything set up for books 1 through 3. I haven't been in a hurry to do that because book 1 has still been selling pretty well with ads. It's been working pretty well for me. But yeah, once the momentum from the original series goes, you may want to look at the box set. And then going forward, like I have old series that have a perma-free book 1 and then a 3-book 1 through 3 box set on a series with like 8 or 9 books. And what I'll do is I'll always have book 1 free, and I'll try to get ads on that every now and then. But then I'll not keep the box set free or 99 cents. I'll kind of pulse back and forth. Maybe it'll be like $6.99, and then I can run. It's like a bigger deal when you drop the price for a sale. And I've talked about before on the podcast how I'll do different blurbs for each one, so it's kind of a different chance to appeal to a different audience, even though it's the same story. All right, next question. We're probably going to do about 10 more minutes. Does that sound good to you guys? I haven't had dinner yet, so we'll obviously have to do this again because we've got more questions than we can answer. Next question from Tiffany. Do you put all your pen names on one website?
So I don't have multiple pen names, but I think it depends on what your reasoning for having the pen names are. Again, as I said earlier, like if you've got two audiences you absolutely don't want to overlap, then you don't put them on the same website. It's a good idea to keep those entirely separate. If you're like, there are some people like Ian Banks had Ian M. Banks, and they were two different genres. Obviously, there's no reason not to have those both on the same site. That's just him, just basically shorthanding what genre he's writing in at a given time. So in those situations, I think it's fine to have them both on the same site. But broadly speaking, I think if you have a pen name, it's for the purposes of separation, and therefore you should keep them separated.
And for me, it just, yeah, I actually agree with what Joe just said. Like it depends on what your purpose is for writing a pen name. For me, I had my romance and my fantasy listed on the same website, but what I did was I had it say at the top was like, welcome to Andrea Pearson's website. Which are you more interested in? And then I had like this, pretty image for fantasy, and then this pretty image for romance, and then people had to select which one they wanted to go to, and that worked fine. I think that my romances for a little while, the algorithms were quite messed up on them, and that might have been because I had them listed on the same website because I didn't send traffic to them that was bad. So I'm guessing that people who looked me up my website went to both. So I don't know, it just depends on how much work you want to do and what you are going for.
I originally set up a website and a Facebook page and a newsletter for the pen name, and that was because everything was not anonymous. I mean, I guess I wasn't using my name to link it anything with the pen name in the beginning. It was kind of an experiment. I wanted to just be linked to other sci-fi authors, sci-fi fantasy. What the heck was my pen name? Sci-fi romance authors. But you stop writing for the pen name and then you kind of forget to check in on things. And I actually lost the domain name because I had it on like, I got a different card or something, or a different email probably, and didn't get the renewal notice. And somebody bastard snagged it. So that's what you might want to do. As long as you're actively doing it, you could have two, one for each. And then if you, like me, get to the point where like, I'm taking a break for this, at that point, maybe you just want to transition it over, or don't let your domain name expire for one. But at that point, you may want to just mention it now and then with your new name, your regular name. We did do the hour recording before this, so we are running out of steam a little bit. Next question. Daniel Martone. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Laura. I know you're there too. To determine an honest read through, how long after release would you typically wait? This was a quick release with the first 3 books. We had a heavy promo and ads on book 1 when book 3 came out. Did I read all that?
Yeah,
How long to determine read through? Like how long should you wait before you can accurately kind of judge read through?
that's a good question. I usually assume that a reader is going to take at least a week to read a book, and they might not start reading your next book immediately. Basically, my opinion on read through is that it's a living number. So you sort of update until it looks like it is stabilized. That's the way that I usually determine how what my read through is I keep on recalculating, like maybe once a week, maybe once a month, depending on what you're capable of. I'm pretty good with spreadsheets. And once it seems like it's not changing much week to week, then that's probably what your accurate read through is. So it might take a while if you don't have a high read through at the beginning, because larger numbers stabilize faster.
And I would say keep in mind that the people who read your books, assuming you've got a following already, and this is answering not just to Daniel, but to everybody listening. Remember that the first people who read your books are going to be your more super fans. And so you're going to want to wait anyway, just a little bit, just to start seeing how much what the read through is for people who find you organically and not through your newsletter list. So I'm not going to answer the actual question because I don't know what it is, but that's just something I would point out.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to wait a while, give it some time. I like it like after maybe 3 months, because seeing how many people or have like each month, it's actually more accurate if you're there's more of a backlist thing and you're not really obsessively looking at it and it's just doing its own thing on a series where you're not running that many ads or only ads to book one. Go in there and see like on a series that has been out for a while and that's not really being affected by anything else by like the newness of the most recent release. So that's not really the answer you probably want, but it is kind of tough to tell if when you're still releasing books. Now, if you are rapid releasing and you're not getting a lot of people going from one to two pretty quickly, within the month or so, that could be a sign that one is just not really catching the wave, not doing it for people. Because not everybody's going to read a book right away, but I find that a lot of people do. So you should be able to get pretty early on an idea if it's working. Boiler 2015 asks, will Lindsay be pitching to write for the new Frasier reboot? Haha. I just saw that. I'm going to try it. I don't really have any expectations. I was actually in the original show. Super loved the cast, actually more than like the supporting cast, more than Frasier. I mean, nothing, I don't have anything against Kelsey Grammer, but he was like my least favorite character probably in all the show. And I don't think the reboot is going to be bringing back any of the other characters. David Hyde Pierce was like the real star in that series, I thought. Okay, Charles. I mean, you guys probably don't want to chime in on that. Do you have thoughts about the Frasier reboot? No. Okay, Charles, if I am in KU, should I pull book one out to make it perma-free or just do the ads that Amazon permits?
We just talked about this in the episode that we recorded today, but uh, either one will work. The problem with pulling something from KU and making it perma free is that now you've got a book one book wide. And the rest that are not. So people who pick up that perma-free book someplace else might be disappointed to find that they can't continue the series in their chosen storefront. But other than that, it's a useful and valid strategy.
And I was asking a question, so I didn't read the question that was being asked. So let's see if I'm okay. Should I pull book one out to make perma free? Just do the ads that Amazon permits. I don't know. Like I think you can go either direction. Just recognize if you do go perma free, you'll have annoyed people who can't find the rest of the books on those retailers. And Joe, was that what you just said? Because it was what Joe just said. So I am seconding, whatever, what Joe just said.
So I've done this. I did this with the pen name, but there were sci-fi romances, and each one was a very complete story. So even if the other retailers couldn't, or the other readers on the other retailers couldn't get the later books in the series, it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't a cliffhanger ending. And I did find that it worked pretty well to really help that name get started out. So it's something you could try. And then if it doesn't work, you just go back to being in KU. Yeah, I found it super helpful, but I would not do it if it's a cliffhanger book one, because you're just going to tick off all those people on the other stores because we just talked about this is funny. You'll hear this again in a week. Readers do look. Yeah, somehow they know, even if they hate Amazon, they're like, I bet that one's on Amazon. I'm going to go over there and check it. All right. Caitlin, how important is the cover on your first novel? I'm working on an epic fantasy series with a shoestring budget. I'm thinking of releasing them with simple covers until finished, then upgrading.
Well, when I released the Book of Deacon 10 years ago, I released with simple covers and then upgraded. That being said, the Book of Deacon Book 1, I can't turn the camera up, but you wouldn't see it anyway because it would get turned into this magical background. The Book of Deacon Book 1 cover is iconic to my entire career at this point. So you will do better with an eye-catching, you know, to market to genre cover for your first book, but it's not absolutely necessary. You can get along very well with a budget cover as long as the book is compelling, and ideally if it's got several to read through to.
My question would be, what defines a shoestring budget for you? Because we've talked about this before. Pre-made book covers, you can find some for like $75, $100, $150 that are jaw dropping, beautiful, just really, really good. And so it depends on what your budget is. And my goal for my business is always to have the business pay for itself. So if I publish something with a simpler book cover and I'm using cash for that, then I would take the money I make and do what Joe did and release better covers, better editing, better whatever. And yeah, like he said, you're going to get more attention if your book cover is really, really good, but you kind of have to start somewhere. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know. It just depends on what your budget is, what you're going for. But it's not a problem, especially in the beginning. I think you also need to recognize you're not going to get a whole lot of attention in the beginning anyway. That's kind of horrible, not fun to learn, but that's kind of the truth now. You need to be doing more to get attention than we used to in the past. So in the beginning, I think you just enjoy your anonymity and then just make money very slowly and slowly build your career.
I would try to find a pre-made somewhere out there. There's quite a few book designers that do them. We talked about that in the shows, and I feel like they're like $50 to $100, which is not nothing, but it's a lot less than having a custom one done. Just find the, better to have something amazing that's kind of kind of close enough than to have something that's kind of kludged together and doesn't look professional. You can redo them later. Joe's talked about how he redid his later, but man, this is like the best shot is when you release a new book that you're going to get. So if you can find a good pre-made that works for you and that is still in the budget, I would go for it. Editing is super important, but if I'm really honest, I would probably put more money towards the cover than editing, especially if you've got somebody. You'll get a lot of 1 stars. I don't know if I had to pick, like, I'm not sure I could. I'm not sure my pride would let me not get a professional edit. But honestly, if I was telling someone, if you got only like $100, $200, I'd be like, dude, get an awesome cover. You get as much as you can. Okay, so we're in an hour. I think we need to wrap up. Thank you, Unicorn, for watching the episodes all the way through. We appreciate that. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are good. I'm going to have dinner. Andrea had hers while she ate. Joe's going to go to bed because it's 10:30 there. And we really appreciate you guys coming over here, and hopefully this helped.
Yeah, it was really great. It's kind of fun. We had so many questions come in that I was like, we're never going to be able to answer all of these.
We did pretty good.
Did we?
We missed some, but
Thanks everybody for keeping the conversation going in the chat and sort of answering each other's questions, because again, like, we're never going to be able to catch all of them unless it's not a lot of viewers. But okay,
all right. Bye everyone.
Bye everybody. Ending the stream now. See you next time.
Bye.
Okay, we're done.
I always unplug my mic because I'm like,